You know when someone says their birthday is just another day? A lot of us, our first reaction is confusion. Maybe we even get a little worried. But what if that indifference isn't a red flag at all? What if it's actually a sign of something, well, something much deeper?
And this is the big idea we're diving into. The idea that skipping the cake and candles isn't about being sad or antisocial, but about having this really powerful form of self-sufficiency. It's a perspective that pretty much flips the script on everything our culture tells us about celebration.
I mean, it's a fair question, right? When a friend or, your partner just shrugs off their own birthday, it can feel like a personal rejection. It just goes against everything we've been taught about how to show people we care. So where does this pressure even come from? And what are the usual explanations when someone opts out?
Okay, so let's look at the traditional view. For a long time, psychology has basically framed this kind of behavior as a symptom, like there's a deeper issue going on. It wasn't seen as a choice, but as a problem that needed fixing. And a real-world example shows you exactly how this plays out.
Wow, you can just feel the frustration in this, can't you? This woman, AC from Seattle, writes to an advice columnist, and she is totally baffled by her boyfriend's attitude. I mean, to her, him rejecting his own birthday feels like he's rejecting her, and it's causing real pain in their relationship. This is just a classic case of our cultural expectations clashing hard with one person's mindset.
So, what's the usual diagnosis here? Well, according to the advice columnist, Dr. Joyce Brothers, it's not just a dislike of party hats. No, she suggests it could be a serious phobia of getting older, or this deep-seated feeling that you haven't accomplished enough, or maybe even a sign of depression. All of these explanations, they paint a picture of someone who's really struggling, not someone who's emotionally independent. But to get why we jump to those conclusions, we gotta look at how birthdays became such a massive deal in the first place.
And that brings us to something fascinating called the birthday selection effect. See, it turns out our obsession with birthdays isn't just some modern thing. It's actually rooted in this really interesting historical pattern that shows just how much social meaning we pour into a single date on the calendar.
Okay, so check this out. Researchers at CUNY found this birthday selection effect. Way back when, most births were at home and, weren't immediately documented. Parents had a little bit of, let's call it, wiggle room with the official birth date. And what they did with that wiggle room is super revealing.
And here's the proof, right here in the data. This chart shows reported births from 1890 to 1910. And just look at those spikes. New Year's Day, Washington's birthday, the 4th of July, and especially Christmas. I mean, that's not random. That's hard evidence that parents were actively choosing to link their child's identity to a big, important cultural event.
And just how powerful was this? Get this. Parents claimed 66% more births on Christmas Day than on the days right before or after it. That number, 1.66, that signifies a huge, motivated shift in reporting. They really wanted their child to be a Christmas baby, to share in the glow of the holiday.
So here's the bottom line. Our whole culture is built on the idea that a birthday is way more than just a date. It's a piece of your social identity, it's your brand, something to be celebrated and shared. This is the cultural water we're all swimming in. And it's exactly why someone who says, it's just a Tuesday, seems like they're breaking some kind of fundamental social rule. But what if they're not breaking a rule? What if they're just playing a completely different game? This brings us to a pretty radical reinterpretation, one that's rooted in Stoic philosophy that just flips that whole traditional view right on its head.
And this chart illustrates the two competing stories perfectly. That column on the left, that's the traditional view we've been talking about. It's all about fear, unfulfillment, avoidance. But the column on the right, it offers a totally new lens. What if that fear of aging is actually a focus on the present? What if feeling unfulfilled is really a sign of having your own internal validation? Let's dig into that.
This quote from the Stoic philosopher Seneca is so key. For a Stoic, the measure of a life isn't its length, the number of candles on a cake. It's the quality of that life. The focus isn't on racking up more years, but on making sure the days you have aren't wasted on meaningless stuff.
Now, this mindset isn't just some vague feeling. It's actually built on some really clear, actionable principles. We can break it down into 3 core pillars that, together, they form a foundation of real, profound emotional independence. So here they are, the 3 pillars. First, finding validation from inside yourself, not from other people. Second, actively avoiding what you could call empty attention and choosing genuine connection instead. And third, detaching from the whole consumer culture that's basically taken over the idea of celebration. The first pillar is all about shifting where your self-worth comes from. So instead of needing a big chorus of "Happy Birthday" to feel valued, your value comes from living by your own principles. Your celebration isn't a party. It's that quiet, private knowledge that you acted with integrity today. Your happiness becomes a product of your own mind, not what other people do or say.
And the second pillar, this one is all about authenticity. I mean, have you ever gotten that flood of Facebook notifications from people you haven't talked to in years and it just feels kind of hollow? That's because it's social performance, not real connection. This mindset is all about depth over breadth. One true friend who remembers you without a calendar reminder is worth so much more than 100 obligatory messages. True affection is shown every day, not just on one scheduled occasion.
And this final pillar is kind of a quiet rebellion against modern commercialism. Let's be honest, birthdays are sold to us as events that require spending on gifts, parties, fancy dinners. This mindset just rejects that idea completely. It gets that true wealth isn't about having a lot of stuff, but about needing very little. This kind of minimalist self-sufficiency, it leads to emotional stability because your happiness is no longer tied to what you get.
So when you put all these pillars together, what you end up with isn't an absence of celebration. Not at all. It's a profound redefinition of what it even means to celebrate a life. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. The celebration shifts from being this single high-pressure event to a continuous quiet practice. The joy isn't in the party. It's in a meaningful conversation, or the satisfaction of a job well done, or just a quiet moment of gratitude. Life itself becomes the ceremony.
This piece of Stoic wisdom from Epictetus just captures the spirit perfectly. Instead of marking time and mourning what's gone or what you haven't achieved yet, the focus is on appreciating what's here, right now. Every single day offers something to be celebrated if you just choose to look for it. Which brings us to a final, really thought-provoking question. Is a celebrated life one that's packed with parties and milestones that everyone else recognizes? Or is it one that's lived with purpose, with integrity, and with this quiet appreciation for each day, totally independent of what anyone else thinks? Maybe the greatest gift isn't one you can wrap in paper. Maybe the true celebration is internal, achieving a mindset that's so resilient, so self-sufficient, that it makes you feel whole and complete all on its own. Not just on your birthday, but on any given Tuesday.